Hi everyone, my name's Alyssa. I'm the artist here at Soot and Cinders. Follow along with me today as I make a wood-burned portrait in memory of my cat Hibiki. I'm going to show you some techniques, tell you some fun kitty stories, and hopefully provide you with a few minutes of entertainment, amusement, and maybe even some warm fuzzies. Alright, so after you've chosen the picture you want to do, you want a picture that is high contrast, has enough details. Well, once you have your picture and you've sized it to the right, to the dimensions of the board you're going to put it on, you want to, as I'm doing here, you want to take some masking tape and put it on two sides so that it's not going to move during the next part. And the next part is you're going to trace over it. And when I say trace, I don't mean that you're going to draw in every little detail, because one, that's just a really bad idea. It's going to mess up the final piece. It's not necessary, and that's not the idea. I mean, it's not even really possible to draw every little detail of the fur and everything like that. So we have our graphite paper that we put under there, and when we start tracing over it, we want this to be with, I find it's easiest with a brightly colored pen, like a red pen, so you can see where you've drawn and where you haven't. And the idea of this is just to kind of give yourself some markers, some little guideposts along the way that tell you where the areas of high contrast are. It isn't to do all the drawing for you. Again, it's not really possible. If you've ever seen someone doing a tattoo and they have like a tattoo stencil that they put on, so they have the placement and they line it up, that's what this is. That's the same sort of idea. Because very similar to tattoos, there is no undo button on wood burning. You put a mark, the mark is there. So you want to be absolutely sure it's where you want it to be. Yeah, so the artistry in this is definitely in the shading and in the texture and trying to add life to it, because as you're going to see, there we go. As you see here, like the final drawing after you remove it doesn't look really anything like what the final burning is going to look like. All right, so let's get to the burning part. Safety is super important when we're dealing with hot tools and smoke. Make sure that you have a face mask that is rated for smoke, like this P95, and also an air filter. I actually have 3 going in my shop and open windows. These finger guards that I'm putting on, I don't really need them for this particular project, but they're great when you have a small piece of wood, and so your fingers are like holding the wood, and then that hot tip is going to be close to the fingers. In that case, I usually have them on my left hand holding the wood, and then the right hand is burning. But not needed for this, but good for other projects. So if you use a wire-based pyrography machine, there's a lot of different tips that you can have on the end. These are some of my favorites. If you do this, you're going to develop your favorites pretty quickly as well. Once you've picked the metal tip that you want for the project, you just slot it in like that and make sure the screws are tightened very tightly. We don't want this wire falling out while we're burning. Put your tool back in the holder and then you're ready to turn the machine on. That is, you would be if you hadn't forgot to plug the thing in first. Let's try that again, shall we? Pin in the holder, and when we turn it on, hey, it's alive! Yes. I do not recommend ever turning it all the way up to the highest heat, especially not when you're starting out. 40 to 45 on this particular model is where I like to begin. All right, and with that, it is the moment of truth. You got to start at some point, and I always get a little nervous, but I like to start with the eyes. Basically because the eyes are, the windows of the soul. They're what makes the person or animal look like themselves. So if I mess up the eyes, then this whole thing is just a waste of time, frankly. So I want to do those first and make sure that I'm happy with them. Otherwise, if I were to do the whole rest of this drawing, save the eyes for last, and then mess up the eyes, oh, that would just be painful, because this is a very time-consuming process. So the eyes, definitely where I start. When I'm going in here and trying to do this very light, subtle color in the eyes, I have the heat turned way down on my tool, and I'm also using a very light, delicate touch. You can always go darker, but you can't really go lighter. I mean, you can try to scrape some off or sand a little bit off in a place, but it's hard. It's much easier just to, do it right the first time and not have to try to undo mistakes. Now, when it comes to creating the fur, I've had people ask, like, well, what's the trick to doing that? And I'm like, there's no trick. You just make a lot of little marks. It really is. You're looking at the photograph. You're trying to hit those dark and light areas. You're not doing a direct, exact one-for-one of every little spot, but you're trying to get the feel for each area. So an area that has short hair, you're going to do a lot of short little strokes. Areas where the hair is longer, your strokes should become longer, and that will help to create this illusion of fur through all these little burn marks. Depending on the wood, this wood was pretty hard to burn. I hadn't used it before, and I don't know that I'll use it again. I have other wood types that I prefer, but I liked the way this plaque looked, so that's why I picked it for Hibiki. So Hibiki died this past July. He was an older cat, but it was still an unexpected death. It was due to an illness, and sometimes no matter what you or the vet does, it's not enough. So yes, that was obviously very sad, but the previous 13 years I had him were anything but. He was a rescue cat. Someone just dumped him in my neighborhood. He was an adult at the time, so I'm not exactly sure how old he was, but I made friends with him. He was very scared. He had injuries. The vet thinks he may have been thrown out of a car. Yeah, people. Anyway, what can you say? But no, I made friends with him, and he lived with me for the next 13 years. He was the ultimate foodie. He loved his food. He was very clever when it came to figuring out ways to get food. So much so that I had to put child-proof locks on the cupboards because he would get into them. And then he would get the food, and then that was all she wrote. He would eat anything, so I really had to watch out for him, because anything that was edible, he would want it. Tortilla chips, bagels, popcorn, loaves of bread. He liked the baked goods, the grains, even though cats are supposed to be just carnivores. So of course he liked his meat, but yeah, all the other food stuff too. He especially loved the forbidden people food. One of his favorite things to do is if you were sitting and eating anywhere where he could sit next to you. So if you were at the table and he could get on a nearby stool, or if you're sitting on the couch watching TV and he'd get on the couch next to you, and he would sidle up to you, and then ever so slowly, it was extreme slow motion, one paw would start rising up. He'd raise the paw higher and higher and higher, so slow you could barely see it moving, with the goal that he was going to strike and get something off that plate. But if you caught him, if you saw him and you're like, Hibiki, the paw would go back down. And then you'd look and it'd start again. The paw go up, slowly up, 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 up. And then if you failed to catch him, all of a sudden, bam, that little paw would reach out and grab something off your plate, usually a piece of meat, a bite of some bread or something like that, and he'd grab it and run with it. Only a few times was he successful when I wasn't paying attention. One time I forgot to tell some friends that were over, we're having a movie night, and everyone's sitting everywhere, some people sitting on the couch, some on the floor, what have you. And I forgot to tell one of my guests about this particular tactic of his. And he did it to her, and he got a chicken wing. And I was like, no, not a chicken wing. Chicken bones. Cats, dogs are not supposed to eat cooked chicken bones. They can be very dangerous. And so I was chasing him through the house, and he never, to be clear, he never growled at me or bit me or swiped at me. But if if you tried to take food that he had rightfully stolen, he would start growling, and he never would follow up on it. He wouldn't like bite you or anything, but still be like, "Hur, hur," and be like, "Hibiki, no, give me that chicken wing." And I'm chasing him through the house, trying to get it. And there was a little bit of desperation on that time, and I eventually did, I got it back from him. There was another time where he stole some food, and it was just funny, and I was trying so hard not to laugh as I am chasing him, because of course the harder I laughed, the less effective my chasing was. It was, he swiped off my plate and stole a whole cob of corn, like a full cob, and he grabbed it, and I'm just like, "A cob?" And I just start laughing, and I'm like, "Give me back that cob." And like, "Hur, no, I'm getting this cob." And it was so big that it was like he's holding it in his mouth, and his whole head was tilted sideways as he's dragging like the cob down the hallway, trying to run with the cob. And I'd already eaten the corn. It was just cob. And I'm laughing so hard as I'm trying to get him, like, "What do you want with a cob? You crazy cat." Man, did he love his food. It was just, food crazy. Absolutely loved it. He also had a very expressive face. Cats are not, I don't think, they're not known for their expressive faces, but he had them. Like his eyes would open really wide, or they'd narrow, and you could always see what he was thinking. His meows were pretty one note, like especially when we had to take him to the vet in the car. He hated the car. And it would be like a siren. I mean, meow, 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 meow. Like, okay, change the note. But no, his very expressive face, very wide eyes, a very photogenic little kitty, I always thought. And the picture that I actually picked for this, it was one of, I think, the cutest little things he would do is if you gave him a box. A lot of cats, they get a box and they're like, "Playtime, I'm going to play with the box. It's going to be amazing." Instead, Hibiki would sit in it and contemplate the universe. He had deep thoughts for a cat, very deep thoughts. He would just sit there and get this distant expression. Yes, okay. Yes, very much a philosopher, that one. Some cats also, they have like a specific spot they like to sleep in. My other cat, Dita, who she'll have a portrait up here. I'll do all this for her in time. She would have particular spots that she would sleep in, but not Hibiki. He would sleep everywhere, in every position. So it's like wherever he was at that moment, whatever position he was in, he could fall asleep in it. He would be outstretched, like a middle stretch, fall asleep. One of my favorites, I have some pictures here. He looked like he was doing the Thriller dance on his back. I'm like, he's doing Thriller. I'm not going to sing that because then I get, flagged for copyright. But yeah, you know what I'm talking about. The Thriller song by Michael Jackson. And that's what it reminded me of. He's there doing the Thriller dance, but he is sound asleep. He always was a little wary of strangers, I think because of his beginnings when he was abandoned. And you can tell with animals if they were mistreated by how they react to things. And so there were signs that he had been mistreated before he came to me. But after he came to me, I did everything I could to make sure he had an amazing, happy life. Everything I could to take care of that little boy. And he brought me so much joy in return. I miss you, sweet boy. And there you are. There is my little Pookie. There is Hibiki, the master of facial expressions, the consummate foodie, the ultimate zoomies. You're the best. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for letting me share my sweet boy with you. If you would like to see more videos like this, more like maybe even an ongoing series of pets and their stories and pet portraits all at the same time, please let me know. Thank you again. I hope you have a great day. Bye.